Hello, Internet world. Today I'm proud to pay tribute to two unsung heroes in the First Amendment and constitutional advocacy movement. Mike Taylor, and one who you've heard before for most of you, Neva. PeachyRider has spent over a week as a journalist during the Atlanta protests. I'm here to define what a hero is to me, because I'm certain that all First Amendment auditors and cop watchers who deny that they are heroes, and it's not up to them to make that decision. It's up to the observers, those who are watching them, their subscribers and viewers and the general public at large. It's up to us to call yay or nay on who's a hero. PeachyRider has a staunch supporter by the name of Mike Taylor and thousands of others. You should check out Peachy's original videos. He changed it to Adventures of PeachyRider and came to do some journalism in Atlanta that I consider to be worthy of awards if she was on mainstream media. And Peachy was exhausted. I believe it was the second or third day, because it was around then, perhaps the fourth or fifth day, that she got arrested. All day and more, and into the wee hours of the night, with very little water, and was running on pure adrenaline for perhaps an hour, perhaps more, as we know one runs out. The well runs dry eventually. She had to sit down and even ask people to help her up from her seat, strangers who were there to help her, of all hues. Because people are good around the world if you approach them as a human being. Of course, use your instincts. But if you haven't been able to figure out, after the age of about 8 or 10, who's suspicious and who's not, because in the court of public opinion, we can all come up to that conclusion without a jury. It's the law that must come to a legal determination and determine everyone innocent prior to guilt. Mike Taylor was watching, along with another 1,000 or 2,000 viewers. Peachy was really in distress. Her electrolytes must have been completely out of whack. She couldn't even stand up by herself to take another step. She tried. Her face was pale. Anyway, an Uber was coming from one direction into the early night, into a very volatile Atlanta, where no one really knew what was going on. Cameras being stifled to the left of us, being stifled to the right of us. 600 kept charging on, and that 600 included Mike Taylor, who said, "I'll get on my way and get in my car in case something happens to the Uber." And no, it's not necessary, Mike. The Uber's going to be there. Perhaps it is best to have a plan A and a plan B. And there was no hesitation from Mike, even though the Uber would be there so much sooner. So the Uber kept chugging on, as did Mike Taylor, tenaciously, saying, "No, that's all right. Let the Uber come. I don't mind. It's not that far." It was probably a good 40 miles. And lo and behold, Mike Taylor came before the Uber. Mike was the one who ended up picking up our beloved PeachyRider. And Peachy lived another day to do journalism, to begin making one of the finest documentaries that I've ever seen. Thank you, Mike Taylor. Huzzah to you. I'm passing this medal. I'm glad it wasn't a Purple Heart for PeachyRider. You can share that with her. Your blood brother and sister from now on, as far as I can see. Huzzah! A point on Heroes. It was only because of Mike's location and his willingness to answer opportunity knocking. You have to even hear it first. Some ignore it even if they do. Thank goodness we were able to have Plan B take the place of A. And our next hero was Noah and Neva. Noah was just taking a walk at night in an isolated area, but on a public sidewalk, and he came across what seemed to be a First Amendment auditor, whose name I will keep unknown at this point, because you can search that out yourself easily enough on what seemed to be a hemmed up First Amendment auditor or cop watcher, as this individual was interacting by videotaping police officers. They were doing their best to give the citizen with a camera as much difficulty as they could, which is their natural state. They can't help themselves. They're programmed that way. I miss peace officers. I think there were some. That might have just been a dream state from what Mother told me about you can trust a police officer. They're your friends. Perhaps mothers who do that today might be considered a little foolish. And Noah Neva came to the rescue and made the police officers, under no uncertain terms, aware that he was videotaping them, speaking up verbally as well, insisting they back off in legal constitutional terms and street smart terms too, and making them certain and known that there were citizens about watching them, because it's our right to do so. The more cameras equals the more justice. Become a participant in liberty and pick up your camera and record interactions with the police. Our heroes, just because time passed and Noah decided that he is going back to pursue his happiness, the same happiness that he had prior to stepping to the fore, stepping into the breach of danger to help a First Amendment auditor. I bet Noah would have stepped into that same breach if it was a cop in distress, or if it was a citizen or anyone, a visitor who's in our country, because it was the right thing to do, even though he has a family to get home to. When we make those decisions at the moment, so much easier to put the blinders on and just keep walking by. Oh, I'm sorry, I only wished I could have helped. If I just had more time to think about it, I would have turned back in time, really. The test of courage. And there are no doubt a lot of us who would have done the same, as opposed to ignoring it. Hip hip huzzah. Hip hip huzzah. Hip hip for Mike Taylor and all those other good citizens out there who would have answered that call. Huzzahs for all of you, and for all of you who you bring aboard this wonderful constitutional movement for the sake of our progeny, regardless of hue. I love all of you who love liberty. I do, I do, I do. End stream on a happy note this time.